Good morning, everyone. My name is Chad Gilfillan with Red Cloud. Joining me today is Graham Boyd, Principal Geologist at High Power Exploration, also known as HPX, a private company founded by Robert Friedland. Also, Gary Thompson, Chairman and CEO of Brixton Metals. The primary focus of the discussion today is Brixton and HPX landmark deal on Brixton's Hog Heaven Project, but also a bit of an overview on both companies. To get right into it, first we'll kick off with Graham, who will do an HPX overview, and then Gary will get into his company, and then we'll talk a little bit further about Hog Heaven. Please post your questions online, and we'll try to answer as many of them as we can. So with that, Graham, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chad. So we're just looking for that first slide deck here. Ashish, are we going to put that slide up? Thank you. Okay, so I'll just spend 5 minutes here introducing HPX, which is a private company. We were founded in 2010 by Robert Friedland. I'll get into the team here. So Robert Friedland is our chairman and CEO. He needs very little introduction. He's been serially successful with many discoveries and developments to his name, and he's a decorated individual. Currently, of course, he leads Ivanhoe Mines as well at the Kamoa-Kakula development in Congo and the giant Trotleaf discovery and development in South Africa. Eric Finlayson is our president. He joined HPX in 2013. Previously he was the global head of exploration at Rio Tinto, and Eric has numerous credits to his name and discoveries as well, and he's been a massive asset to HPX in his time here so far. Charlie Foster is our vice president of exploration, and he leads our exploration group. Charlie is well known for his discovery credit for the Oyu Tolgoi deposit in Mongolia, and Charlie has been a great asset to our team here at HPX as well. So just touching on our portfolio at the highest level, essentially, HPX, we're a private company. We're a mining and technology group. So in our mining assets, we have our Nimba high-grade iron ore asset, and I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And we also have a global exploration portfolio in copper, nickel, and cobalt, and a few other elements around the world. Technology-wise, we have a controlling interest in the Computational Geosciences, or CGI. They're a Vancouver-based AI and big data company. We work with them very closely on our geophysical inversions and data processing. There's an immense amount of talent and asset there, and they work with both mining, oil, and gas sectors. And energy storage, we have a stake in this vanadium redox battery company called VRB Energy. These are the batteries that will support the renewable future. So when solar panels and wind power, when the sun isn't shining and when the wind isn't blowing, we need to have that energy stored that is created and put back into the grid. So VRB Energy is our vanadium redox battery company, and that is a big part of our technology division. So this is just a map of our interests in the globally. So you can see we've developed a bit of a West African and Americas focus, and that's kind of where our assets are. On the next slide here, there's a little table. I'll talk about a couple of our interests here. Our flagship asset is the Nimba Iron Ore Project. So Nimba is an extremely desirable premium product, high-grade iron ore development in Guinea. The project at the pre-feasibility stage, and we have a railhead within 42 kilometers of the mine. And that's going to become a very attractive high-grade development with a desirable product for global iron ore markets. We also have consolidated the main Tintic district in Utah in the USA. This is a historic past producer. It's only about an hour and a half drive from Salt Lake City Airport. It's a 270 million ounce silver past producer. It's also produced 2.2 million ounces of gold and significant copper, lead, and silver. We have spent the last 3 years putting together all the old mines and all the old underground maps, and we've consolidated a large land package with over 27 different land deals. So that's one of our key exploration assets in the U.S., and we have a great team there that'll also work on Hog Heaven. We also have the San Matias and Alacran project in Colombia. That's held through our Cordoba Minerals investment. And that's a 400 million ton producer. Sorry, that's 400 million ton life of mine PEA. And I'll just hand it back to Gary there. We'll talk about Hog Heaven later. Thanks.
Thanks for that, Graham. So Brixton Metals, we're trading on the TSXV under BBB. Just a little update on the share structure post Robert Friedland's $2 million investment. You can see the makeup of the top shareholders. Gives us about 182 million shares outstanding, and we're currently sitting on north of 5 million in cash, trading around 33 cents for about a 60 million market cap. I think today we're probably about 160 million shares traded year to date. And this December marks Brixton's 10-year anniversary. Just generally, if you're not that familiar with Brixton, 4 wholly owned assets in Canada and the US. And a little bit about the Hog Heaven Project. Brixton acquired this asset from Pan American Silver in 2017. It has a pretty significant history of mining, mainly high-grade silver ore that was direct ship ore to smelters, and it came with significant byproducts of a gold, silver, mainly mining silver, with byproducts of gold, copper, and some other base metals. There was a feasibility study done on the project in the late 1980s by Coca Mines. And they actually had a permit to build the mine, and of course, 1990 rolled along, and gold and silver prices tanked, and it pretty much wiped out the economics at the time. And they were largely focused on the silver, gold, and looking at the oxide material. And the work that we've done since we've got the project certainly identifies significant copper potential here. And most of the previous samples did not assay for base metals. Just a little bit about $4.5 million over 6 years, and spend $15 million US to earn a 51% interest. Of course, this is an option they can pull out at any time. But if they decide and elect to move into stage 2 of the agreement, they can earn up to a 75% interest by spending an additional 25 million US over 5 years. So it's a 11-year earn-in agreement, and HPX will be the operator on basically on all activities. Just a little bit on the area, just kind of showing the I guess the general lay of the land here. What's interesting geologically here is, and most people probably don't appreciate that, we've got some fairly young Eocene rifting and plutonic, basically porphyry driving mineralization here. And most of the historical work was focused on 2 areas. The main mine, we can see all these little dots here. These are all the previous drilling on the main mine. And then the Old Hill area, which was also quite shallow drilling. And they were mining in this WF area, pulling some very high-grade material out of here. And I don't know if you can see this down here, but there's probably 6 or 8 small-scale high-grade workings with very limited drilling. but some quite high-grade gold and silver hits on this part of the property that hasn't really seen much exploration activity. Brixton did some soil sampling this year, and we've got a multi-kilometer open-ended geochem anomaly, and we think we'll likely look to expand on that to basically flush out the bigger scale potential here. Certainly, some of the work that we did this year supports further work on the project. We did about 1,500 meters and 6 diamond core holes this year, with pretty encouraging results to date. So we think there's lots of room for new discoveries on the Hog Heaven project. Just briefly on to Thorn. Up in the Golden Triangle, we've expanded our land position here up to about 2,600 square kilometers through a couple of transactions. And we collected a lot of soil samples and rock samples this year. I think now with the historical work and the work that we've done this year, we've got over 6,600 rock samples, 25,000 soil samples, and about 2,500 stream sediment samples. And really what it's identifying for us is quite a large porphyry district. We've got more than, looks like a 70-kilometer trend here, and mostly copper weighted. It's copper, gold, and silver credits. Most of the work has been done in this central part around the Camp Creek area. But we have a couple of new targets that we fleshed out this year, the west target, and with the transaction with Suhini, we acquired this Metla ground. It's quite a long copper gold trend. And we've got this east target and this emerging south target, which hasn't really seen much work. But the takeaway is we've got multiple large-scale copper anomalies here that are yet to be flushed out as far as drilling goes. And this is a gold plot showing the geochem for gold in the soils and rocks and silts. And you can see there's certainly a standalone gold trend here, which we're calling Trapper, which is part of the Trapper acquisition we did with Kodiak Copper that gave us the Trapper claims. And that ties in quite nicely to the work that we did previously. So the Trapper anomaly is about a 5-kilometer volcanic-hosted gold anomaly. And then we have the Outlaw Zone, which is about a 4-kilometer sediment-hosted gold anomaly, which we did a round of drilling about 2,500 meters this season, which we've yet to release those results. Down here, you've got the Golden Bear mine, which produced about 500,000 ounces of gold at quite high grades. We plan to do some additional work down on the southern extension of that target. So lots of targets for both gold, copper, and silver as well. We did some drilling in the Camp Creek target. This is a blind porphyry target that has a geophysical footprint of about 2 kilometers by 3 kilometers that's open-ended. If you recall, we drilled this hole 150 down into the breccia pipe, which returned this 550 meters of about 2 grams gold equivalent. And then we stepped over about 1 kilometer to the west, and we drilled this hole 162, which was actually the first hole that actually encountered porphyry-style mineralization. You can see this hole 162 where we're getting increasing grades towards the bottom of the hole. And then we drilled this hole 181 down to 960 meters, almost between the two of them. And so those results are still pending. We're currently actively drilling in the Cobalt Camp of Ontario on our Langus mine. This was a past producer, high-grade silver in the Cobalt Camp that historically produced over 500 million ounces of silver and 50 million pounds of cobalt. And we're actively working on this project. It's a brownfields asset that produced 10.4 million ounces of silver at 25 ounces per ton. Great infrastructure. And so the goal really is to drill this project throughout the winter to get to a maiden resource on the Langus mine. Here's some of the native silver that we've encountered. We've made several new, really new discoveries, or brownfield discoveries, I guess, extensions to the old mine workings. And we've had some pretty good success around this shaft number 3. There's a couple of zones that were not mined out. We've been generating some very encouraging results, like this 5 meters of of 1,293 grams per ton silver. And we did some surface stripping here and pulled some really high grade silver cobalt at surface here. So we've got a round of drilling going on, fairly tightly spaced drilling on round shaft number 3. Basically working to fill this in towards some resource category silver ounces. So just in summary, we've got a diverse precious and base metal portfolio in Canada and US. We have a strong shareholder base with management invested, and we have multiple drill-ready, high-impact targets, and we're ready for this resource expansion. And we have quite a large land position, and obviously we're excited about working with HPX, and we think there's significant upside to be generated through the HPX deal at Hog Heaven. So I guess I'll turn that back over to you, Graham. Maybe can talk a little bit about the HPX plans for the project.
Sure. Thanks, Gary. So we have a slide here, Ashish, for the plans. Thanks. So this is our anticipated program. So it says 2020 here. We've started some work already, but most of this is due to happen potentially in 2021. So currently we have a crew out at site who's been out there for a couple of weeks now. They've been relogging a whole bunch of the old core that Brixton had organized well and stored in a Quonset hut out there. And so they're relogging core, and we'll plan to use all the data from that relogging campaign to update the geology model, and that'll of course help us make new targets and plan for drilling. We're also planning to expand the drill permit. So currently the drill permit is kind of in an area around the main mine there, and we'll be expanding that to cover the whole district if possible. So we're working with the DEQ in Montana to get that done, and we don't see any major impediments to doing that. We also may complete some additional ground gravity over the winter. So what we might try to achieve with ground gravity is what we see at the main mine is actually the ore that they mined at main mine is actually quite low density. So it actually comes up on, potentially could come up on a density survey, which is a gravity survey. And so that might help us identify new targets. And so after that, we are hoping to run a 20 square kilometer 3D IP Typhoon survey. Now, Typhoon, I should introduce, it's HPX's proprietary electrical transmitter. And in IP configuration, it injects more current than most other systems, than all other systems. And we can image down to probably 1.5 kilometers depth. So the advantage for that is, of course, we can map the whole system here. This is a large footprint. This is probably over 3 to 4 square kilometers of alteration that we see at Hog Heaven. It allows us to essentially light up this whole district and potentially see down to up to 1.5 kilometers to look for the porphyry source, if there is one. And so, you know, essentially what the IP does is essentially the electrical current goes into the ground, and the sulfide minerals act like tiny batteries, and then they attenuate the charge. And as soon as you turn off the Typhoon transmitter, those sulfides release their charge back into the environment, and we see the signal that comes back in the receivers on the surface. And what we see at Hog Heaven is a very good correlation between sulfides and mineralization and copper, gold, silver grades. So we hope that we can directly detect great looking targets with our Typhoon system, and no other group could do a survey like we're planning to do with such a large array. At least not that we understand. So yeah, that's what we're hoping to achieve with Typhoon. And once we get those results, hopefully late spring, early summer, we'll start drilling on the project. So yeah, what we're hoping to find are additional high sulfidation epithermal zones, just like the previous mining. We see a lot of room to find more of those. And we are also hoping to find the porphyry source to this mineralization because this is just a great setting for both high sulfidation and for porphyries. So that's what we're hoping to achieve here. Yeah, Chad, do you want to move into the next phase?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great overview from both. I guess continuing the theme with Hog Heaven, I'd be very curious to know how the relationship sort of got kicked off, how long it took to structure something, and really, Graham, for you, what attracted you to the project in the first place.
Sure. You want to start, Gary, or do you want me to take that one?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, we actually got introduced to Hog Heaven at Roundup conference early this year, and kind of put it in our head. And what we liked about it was that it's kind of in this sweet spot of age ranges. So it's in this late Eocene, early Oligocene. Now that might not mean much to a lot of people, but that is the same age kind of range as what we see at the giant Bingham Canyon porphyry system in Utah. And so that's a really great age range to be in, and that's an age range that seems, at least in the USA, to have a tendency to form these gold-rich copper porphyry systems. And indeed, there's other epithermal systems like Hog Heaven at that age range around the US. So that attracted us to the project. It's a great age. It's also this unusually silver-rich, high sulfidation epithermal system. So, these types of epithermals are typically, you do get silver, you get gold, you get copper, but this one, if you look at the silver grades on a chart, it's actually one of the most silver-rich systems of its type globally that we know of. And so that's unusual, and ore bodies are usually associated with unusual systems. So that was an interesting thing to us, and so that intrigued us a lot and got us into looking at the project a lot here. So it's also just a classic setting. We have these nice cap rocks, we have nice porous rocks underneath, and so when these fluids come in and cut the rocks and mineralize, they have a chance to pond and potentially blow out for high grades and potentially bulk mineable mineralization. So that's what attracted us to the project. Yeah, a lot of credit to Brixton for organizing a lot of the data, drilling, database, the drill cores. Everything was well organized and made our review a lot easier. So
that's great. I guess the next question I'd ask is what do you think that the depth of the targets are? Is this something is there open pit potential? Is this more of a block cave scenario if there is a discovery, or is it too early to tell?
Yeah, it's a little bit early to tell. There certainly could be mineralization within 200 meters of surface, 300 meters of surface, but it's just a bit early to tell. We know the main mine has open pit potential. There's previous studies that show us that. For future discoveries, it's just a little bit early, but we do see that it need not be a super deep system based on the geological evidence.
Right, and obviously Brixton initially, I believe, got in there on the silver side of things, but obviously Gary was early on recognizing the copper potential. Will we see some precious metal results as well by virtue of drilling through that, or is really the focus? Obviously, I know your focus, Graham, your group is copper.
No, yeah, we certainly plan to explore for the silver gold system as well. So that's all part of the story here. The copper is one of the prizes, but the quality of the mineralization that's there already is certainly a target that we're interested in as well.
Yeah, I mean, kind of talking to both of you and going through details of the agreement itself, it looks like it's one of these rare win-win ones where you're both getting a ton of benefits from it. Obviously, Brixton's leveraging HPX's technology and expertise, and Brixton can focus on a similar big porphyry target on Thorn as well. One of the unique things I think that for Brixton is maybe, Gary, you can talk about your G&A spend and what that looks like with this agreement and where how the money's going to the ground.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. The way the deal is structured, I mean, effectively, our Brixton's G&A is covered for the next 6 years, assuming that they go the distance to 51%. So that's pretty encouraging for us. So not having to raise additional capital for G&A, and it does free up our technical team to focus on our Langus and Thorn projects. So we're pretty happy to have made this arrangement. with the HPX group, and I'm pretty excited to see what they can generate for results there.
Yeah, and Gary, maybe again, Thorn being a porphyry prospect and gearing up you've done a ton of work, really ready to get back at it in the spring and maybe take a harder hit at it. What's your view long term of Thorn, Brixton? Is this a similar project that could be joint ventured out, or is this something you're going to do on your own, I guess, or yet to be determined?
Yeah, I think it's yet to be determined. We believe that we're sitting on multiple large-scale porphyry targets there, and we do think it is a major company project. But I think there's still a bit more work to do to get that conviction. I think by some of the majors, given the location of it. But we've had good success with the work that we've done to date, and we're going to continue to drive that forward and get those results out.
Yeah. Graham, I'll put you on the spot a little bit. I know with the Hog Heaven deal, obviously Robert's put equity in the company as well, so ultimately has exposure to Thorn as well. Was Thorn looked at? Just curious your general thoughts. I'm sure you have an opinion.
Yeah, of course. No, Thorn is a remarkable patch of the Earth's crust. I mean, there's no shortage of copper and gold mineralization to be found up there. I think the team is spoiled for choice with targets. The Brixton team is spoiled for choice with targets up there. Yeah, I mean, there's you can explore for a lifetime up there and keep finding stuff. You can just look at the rest of the Golden Triangle and the discoveries people still are making after decades and generations of work. And so that's the opportunity at Thorn.
Yeah, great. And then I guess other projects as well. I mean, when HPX looks at a potential project deal or investment, I mean, what is that process like? What are you looking for? What would you recommend juniors do to kind of prepare to get in front of you and pitch their ideas?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, ultimately our group is looking for significant world-class potential targets. And I know that term gets thrown around a lot, but yeah, we are looking for that kind of significant size, high grade, those differentiating really special projects. And so that's what we're looking for. And it's not an easy job to go out and try and find those. But I guess the point is if we're looking for something, we're looking for something that demonstrates the potential for either something very large and or something that's extremely high grade, depending on the commodity. I mean, we work in a lot of commodities, but we are really focused on the electrification story and the electrification of everything. So copper really leads, also nickel and cobalt. So we're also looking for projects where our technology suite is well suited. That's the other side of it. So, we're using our Typhoon system, not just at Hog Heaven, of course, but we've used it at our Tintic project, which I introduced earlier. We're also using it at our Sama joint venture in Cote d'Ivoire for nickel and cobalt and copper exploration there. So we can use it in all sorts of settings. But ultimately we're looking for world-class potential and significant size targets. So our technology is just one of the great tools in our tool belt.
Right. Okay. Switching over to on the cobalt theme, Gary. Obviously, drilling rigs on sites, drilling active. Any general update on the cobalt camp from at Langus from your point of view?
Yeah, well, I wish I could say we got assays in hand, but as everybody probably recognizes, the labs have been extremely slow this year. But we have had some very encouraging results so far. I mean, we're drilling near surface and around the shaft number 3, where we did highlight some quite high grade cobalt and silver numbers. So I think the visuals are good, and we're just gonna have to wait for those assays to come in. But yeah, basically we're doing a high density fan type drilling just to build confidence, working towards a resource. And I guess the debate for us is, do we bring that second drill in there and start really plowing holes in here? So we'll have to see. I think the lab is projecting perhaps to have some initial assays in December. So fingers crossed on the timing on that. But I mean, we're going to be drilling basically throughout the winter over the next 5 or 6 months, regardless, whether it's one drill or two drills. But yeah, we're excited to move that forward. And I think the cobalt is a significant component of the overall resource, but it is a high grade silver play is what we're trying to build there.
Right. And then just, I guess, you've highlighted a bit of news flow at Cobalt over the next 6 months. How, generally speaking, and Graham did a great job outlining his plans for Hog Heaven. What do you see for news flow over the kind of 6 to 12 months generally as for investors?
Yeah, we've got some work coming in on the Thornup Project. I think for the balance of the year, we should have 1 or 2 releases, maybe more. Might even trickle into January, depending on those last few holes. So that'll be Thorn kind of wrapped up either late this year or into early next year. And then starting in December and throughout the winter, we'll be primarily focused on Langus.
Yeah, that's great. And I have to highlight when I look at your shareholder registry, Gary, it's enjoyable to see groups like Rob McEwen and Eric Sprott and now Robert Friedland backing your company. You guys certainly, those investors see you guys have a nose for assets, and it's great to see that you're able to focus on Cobalt now and then Thorn in the summer with HPX kind of running the show at Hog Heaven. So guys, look, that's largely the questions I had collected from online. I have my own. Thank you very much for your time, Graham. I really appreciate it. I'm sure Gary does as well. And maybe Gary, I'll just leave it with you to close and to reiterate kind of the 3 reasons why Brixton, and we'll leave it there.
Well, yeah, I just think I think the assets are top of the list. Obviously, we've got as you mentioned, a strong shareholder base, and I think this transaction with HPX is, I think, going to unlock a lot of value for Brixton shareholders that we have not seen yet. So we'll obviously look forward to that. We should close that deal, I guess, Graham, by the end of January is the target, and let you guys get at it. It should be an exciting project to watch.
Yeah.
That's great. Again, thanks guys for your time. Really appreciate it. For those online, there will be a replay available. So watch for that. Great.
Great. Thanks everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.